All right, I think I am live, you guys. Hey, everybody, I'm Chief Meteorologist Leslie Hudson for MyRadar. See me on Skype, Damien. Tell me if we're not up, but I think we are. Time now is 10:22 a.m. Continuing our coverage with severe weather across the southeast. As we know, the outbreak from yesterday on St. Patrick's Day produced over 24 tornadoes, storm reports totaling over 150. And now the concern is what happens today through parts of Florida and Georgia and later into the Carolinas. A tornado watch is up for parts of Florida and Georgia until 1 p.m. local time. I'm going to get to all of that and tell you what you can expect later today and into tonight as well. So first things first, we're going to begin with the MyRadar app. We always like to show this first. And Damien, if you want to take that full, I'll show a couple of things that we're looking at. So much like last night, I was talking about the upper air pattern because the dynamics to make severe weather happen occurs at all levels of the atmosphere, way high up, mid-levels, and down at the surface. So a couple of things going on. There's a surface low that's currently over the Midwest. You can kind of see that over the St. Louis area, but this is the upper air. So this is the jet stream from about 18,000 feet up in the atmosphere. And you notice that southerly flow where all those reds and oranges are kind of congregating together there down across this deep south. That's that push of that moisture that's driving these storms towards the southeast. So if you want to take the wind layer off, Damien, and then we'll kind of zoom into that squall line that's moving across Florida and the Carolinas and Georgia, we'll see that over the last several hours, we've seen some degeneration or some weakening in the trend. But Damien, if you can zoom in just a little bit closer to the Florida Panhandle, because we still have some straight line winds, thank you, in that area. So you can see a little bit of a notch there that's just north of the Tallahassee area. And that does indicate that there has been some wind in that area. There have been a couple of tornado warnings already this morning in the Florida Panhandle, southern Georgia. And then I do anticipate to see the potential for that later today. But I think it's going to be more this afternoon and tonight when we get up into the Carolinas that we get some of that destabilization with the atmosphere, that there is going to be a larger threat for severe weather. Doesn't mean to, by any means, you guys need to stop watching what you're looking at because the potential there is for sure. So let's take a look at some of our weather STEM cameras this morning. We've got two in the state of Florida. First will be the Florida State University campus in Tallahassee, and they have had a stormy day. You can again see the ominous clouds there. There is definitely a nasty line of weather that's currently moving through the Tallahassee area along I-10. It's going to be a really rough go in these next couple of hours as you try and navigate around these strong and severe thunderstorms. And then our next weather STEM camera, again, great partners that we're so glad to be partnering with, is at the Florida A&M campus. And you can again see a little bit of a drop there in that line of coverage, just a multiple layer there of some of those severe storms that have been moving through Tallahassee. So we currently have had some severe thunderstorm warnings, as I mentioned, within these last couple of minutes. And actually, I'm just going to check real quick something, Damien, if you want to keep that up full. I wanted to look at the chat from the National Weather Service because there are currently no severe thunderstorm or tornado warnings, but I did want to let you know earlier today there was a report of a tornado around 6:32 a.m. and that was near Houston County, Alabama, in the southeastern part of that state. So the last confirmed tornado we had was at 6:32 a.m. in southeastern Alabama in Houston County. And currently we're still dealing with marine warnings and we have that tornado watch. So let me take that back down. And then Damien, if you want to go ahead and we'll take a look at WSI. And we'll take a look at, oh, I'm sorry, you know what, before we do that, I got out of order there, Damien. Let me show you that video out of Moundville, Alabama yesterday. So this was one of many tornadoes, as I mentioned, 24 that were confirmed, this being shot by Allison's husband. And she, her husband captured this video in Alabama yesterday from one of those multiple supercells that we were tracking through Mississippi and Alabama. and multiple reports with damage. And I one thing I want to talk about real quick is I've already seen on Twitter a lot of money back quarterbacking where people are not happy that there was so much hype about this 5 out of 5 high risk and where was all the damage. Let me tell you, a lot of these storms touch down in rural parts of these states, and I can tell you there are a lot of people that have a lot of damage and have a lot of cleanup this morning. So just because we didn't get a large tornado drop down in a big city does not mean that this was not a severe weather outbreak. It absolutely textbook was. And there are definitely a lot of people that are cleaning up from these tornadoes. Thankfully, the injuries have been somewhat minor. So as we take a look at our WSI, we're going to show you some of our graphics here. So this is the live radars. We have 5 of them up. You can see there I've got one in Tallahassee, one in southern Georgia, one in the Atlanta area, and I've got a couple north of there. And there's one that I'm going to, I think I put in Columbia, but anyway, we certainly have the storms covered here. And as I zoom in, I'm going to grab my little pointer and talk about that a little bit more about that notch I was pointing out in the radar, in the MyRadar app. So it's kind of right in there. So anytime you get that notch, or sometimes these are, if it's more pronounced, this isn't really a classic bow echo, but if it was more of a defined notch, we would definitely see some indication of some wind shear and rotation. But this is a really, really nasty line of weather that extends from pretty much the Big Bend area up into southern Georgia. So be on alert, as I mentioned, in this area, because there is that tornado watch until 1 p.m. local time. So here's a look at the velocity mode. And again, I don't see any couplets. We talked about that yesterday. If you were watching the coverage, that couplets are when you get in that red there, if you would see, which is going away from the radar site, if there was a green little notch inside of that, or a little green circular notch, that's what we call a couplet. I haven't seen any of that today. I've seen some weak rotation in some of these storms, but again, I'm going to be keeping my eyes up here in the Carolinas as we get into the afternoon, because that's where I think we're going to see some of that potential for some of that severe weather in between the sector of the cold and the warm front, that warm sector later today. But we still have to keep a really close eye on this stuff over these next several hours. But at least at this point, we've had a little bit of a break, considering looking at this storm report that you see here across the southeast. So I mentioned over 24 tornadoes on the ground confirmed, and then 150 storm reports all told, including hail and high wind. And I do think high wind, again, another signature of these storms today. The storms late last night when I did my update, around 1 o'clock in the morning, they were more linear in presentation, meaning they kind of oriented from the north to the south. This morning, they're much more ragged in presentation on radar, not clearly defined in a clear squall line. There's kind of 2 brackets to the north and to the south, as I was showing you. I'll show you that again when we go back to the live radar. But again, some indications that some of that intensity has waned a bit in this structure of this storm. But here is a look at the severe weather categories, and I want you guys to focus on that 15%. So we talk about the levels: marginal, slight, enhanced, moderate risk, but high risk. But the easiest way, I think, more effective way, is to label these 1 to 5, 5 being the worst, 1 being the lowest. So we're at a 4 today in parts of South Carolina and North Carolina. So I've got on here 15%. What does that mean? So in that area that's in red, that means there is a 15% chance of a tornado passing within 25 miles of you if you're in that area. That is still a significant risk today. Now, at the height of the severe weather yesterday, that notch, if you will, or that area of risk that was under the high level was at 45%, incredibly high number, incredibly rare event. But we're still talking about 15%. The Storm Prediction Center that issues this product doesn't usually put that kind of number unless there is a significant concern for severe or rotating thunderstorms. So 15% chance that if you're in that little area of South Carolina and North Carolina, that you have a 15% chance of a tornado passing near you within 25 miles. So again, stay on guard. Don't get focused on the polygons. Weather happens outside of this. Weather doesn't always get the memo and doesn't realize, oh, okay, there's only a 15% risk here, but I'm gonna drop a tornado in Georgia. So this whole area under the moderate, enhanced, slight risk, everybody in this area needs to be weather aware. And as I talked about this last night, you need two ways to get that information. One, through a NOAA weather radio. If you don't have a NOAA weather radio, then you need to get your app handy. And I apologize, this map did not update correctly, so I'm going to do this live while we talk. So you need to, if you can, get a NOAA weather radio. They are not terribly expensive. Or, as I mentioned, make sure that you have your MyRadar app turned on. Your phone, it can be a lifesaver. Make sure you're in your notifications, in your settings, that you have the emergency warning systems toggled on from the National Weather Service and from the emergency management. So in the event that you're under a tornado warning, you get an audible sound from your phone to warn you that you are in imminent danger, or could be in imminent danger. So make sure you've got that turned on today if you're in this area. So here is a look at those tornado watches. That is up until, as I mentioned, which includes that section of Florida and southern Georgia. And then we also have a marine warning, which I didn't put on there. But also interesting to note, let me just drag this up, there's a gale warning up for a good chunk of the Atlantic seaboard, because this frontal boundary is going to be producing some high winds up here. And this little notch you see here, by the way, or I keep calling it a notch, but this little area is actually a high wind warning in anticipation of what's coming later today. So Virginia already getting ready for what could be some high winds in that area later on this afternoon, when the actual low that's over the Midwest tracks more towards the east. And again, the gale warnings go all the way up the Atlantic seaboard. So plenty of weather left over from this system. The severe weather is the greatest risk and greatest concern for us right now. But as I put this in motion, again, we're seeing a less not concentric, but less defined linear presentation on radar of what's going on with these severe storms. I want to point out that low to you. So the surface low right about here in the Midwest, and then we have our parent line, if you will, of storms, again, a kind of a comma shape like this. And that's not very good, but then you get the idea. So again, a cyclonic presentation here of that low and the cold front. And in that sector, and let me take that off, in the sector between the cold and the warm front, I think is where we're going to have the potential for some of that severe weather. So that's why I'm really focused in on this area over here in the Carolinas later today, because I think once we get some destabilizing components in the atmosphere, I think we're going to have that potential to refire some of these storms. And there's already a lot going on. The low level jet is a big component. So we've got winds coming in from the south at the surface. We've got already have a dynamic set of weather events ongoing that will help build these storms quickly, so that the instability in the atmosphere, the low-level jet stream that will help provide twist, I think could provide another layer for severe weather as we head into today. So I was talking about dew points last night. I wanted to point this out because dew points are a good tool to use when you're trying to forecast severe weather. So a couple of things that are notable to me here this morning. So here the dew points are in the 60s, right, across Atlanta, southern Alabama into Florida. They're of course much lower here because that colder air is pushing in through Mississippi. So you guys are finally getting a break after a rough day yesterday. But look at this, Charlotte, the dew point 54, Columbia 62. So that still tells me that there is this what we call cold air damming that's still pushing in over from the north through parts of Virginia. So this warmer air that's in Columbia and across the southeast is going to butt up to this colder air that's streaming into the mid-Atlantic states. So that, again, another factor that we look at for severe weather. So when the dew points are elevated, we know there's more moisture in the atmosphere, more opportunity for severe weather to develop. Currently, across the southeast, most areas in this region that are under severe weather threat are in the 40s and 50s. And then look at that surge of the warmer air briefly as we get into the day today. And then, of course, everything cools off. So I think once we get into that daytime heating, we've got plenty of these. I'm going to keep talking. We had this problem last night. I apologize, but All right, cool. Thanks for letting me know, Damien. So again, I'm at the mercy of the hotel I'm in, you guys. I'm currently out of town, but stay with me here. The Wi-Fi should come back up shortly. So here's a look at the futurecast, and notice that this is at 10:30 this morning. So right now, it does a pretty decent job. This is the high resolution HRR model, HRR model, and I think this has done a pretty decent job. So as we head into the afternoon, notice that cluster of potential strong storms that'll be moving into the Carolinas and into southern Georgia and Florida. And then as we get into the afternoon, again, look at another, not linear, but a couple of clusters, a couple of those rogue storms there that you see around 6 or 7 o'clock tonight in North Carolina and South Carolina could be severe weather makers. So I expect to see that tornado watch extended east into the Carolinas later today, and then after we get into the overnight tonight, it's out of here, and all of the bad weather goes away by the weekend. So it's really going to be the remainder of today, maybe a little bit of tomorrow. We'll see how the dynamics play out, but definitely still have to keep vigilant through the remainder of today. Tornado risk areas in the month of March. This was textbook yesterday. This is the exact area that saw those tornadoes in parts of Mississippi and Alabama, into a little bit of Louisiana. So this is an area we focus in on, just like we show you favored areas for tropical development during hurricane season. We have the same type of outlooks for severe weather season. So this is an area that we look for severe weather, and that's exactly what happened yesterday, and could potentially still see that play out again today. All right, power outages. Let me show you the current power outages, Damien, if you want to show that map that you made. So there were several states last night that were without power. Currently, the only state that's dealing with widespread power outages is Alabama, and I know the crews are working hard. There's give or take about 14,000 people without power, 14,700 give or take. So there's going to be crews still assessing damage, trying to get trees cleared out, a lot of down trees I've heard in this area. So as we head through today, we can go back to WSI, Damien, and show that the outages will kind of filter back towards the Carolinas as we head through the afternoon into Virginia, at a moderate to maybe a high risk on some of these rogue storms that, again, I think could potentially fire some short-lived tornadoes. So keep that in mind, and make sure you've got a plan in place. Make sure your portable devices are all charged up so you have a way to hear the warnings. A couple of products I'm going to go through quickly here. These are a couple of products that I look at, again, that interpolate the atmosphere, taking into effect rotation in the atmosphere, jet stream, dew points, that type of thing. Actually, and Damien, come back on camera real quick, because I did show this last night, and hopefully this made sense. So when we're talking about severe weather, we're talking about wind shear. So imagine this is a column of air, and so I'm going to hang tight for a second, and hopefully you guys can see this in a second. So just going to keep. All right, thank you. Damien's letting me know when my Wi-Fi goes out. So here's my parcel of air, and remember, this is rotating, right? Or it's actually counterclockwise if I'm going to be technical. And then when you get this parcel of air, we've got winds coming in from different directions like this, it can tilt that parcel of air, which is what happens. And remember, this is still rotating like this, and this is our parcel of air, and it continues to rotate. And then when it reaches the ground, it becomes a tornado. We get a vortex or a column of air, and that becomes our severe weather. So again, parcel of air in the upper levels of the atmosphere with directional shear, meaning the wind's coming in from different directions, and this helps tilt that parcel of air like this and creates the funnel and touches the ground and becomes a tornado. So back to WSI real quick, and I'll try and pick things up because Wi-Fi apparently is going spotty. So significant tornado potential. This does not mean every area you see in red and orange is going to get a tornado. No, what this is telling you is that there is potential for that rotation that I was just talking about. There's potential for some of that energy in the upper levels of the atmosphere to rotate enough that we could see some of that energy reach the ground. So that would be later today and into tonight, and then quickly clears out of here. So again, today, primarily the go day, supercell composite here. Supercells are what you need to have long-lived tornadoes. That potential, again, has already passed for Atlanta, so kind of ignore that. But in the Florida Panhandle, there is that potential for the supercells. And then, again, higher risk as we head into this afternoon for parts of eastern Georgia, southern South Carolina, central South Carolina, North Carolina. Some of those rogue storms, those are the ones we're going to look out for today, the ones that have a potential to stay long-lived on the ground for many minutes, if not even an hour, to become large, dangerous supercells. Helicity index takes a look at, again, the parcel of air and the amount of shear and rotation needed for the lift for these severe storms. And again, don't think that because you see all that pink and that magenta that you're getting a tornado there. 100% no. What this means is the ingredients in this area of North Carolina, a little bit of Virginia, South Carolina, a little bit of Georgia, a little bit of Florida, has the that rotation and that energy that we're looking for, the twisting mechanism, like a corkscrew. Helicity is like a corkscrew, if you want to think of it. You know, when you open a bottle of wine, as you rotate that corkscrew, you get it gets tighter as you get closer to the top. So that's kind of how we look at the Helicity index. CAPES, by the way, if for those of you that are weather geeks probably already know this, but the CAPE right now is around 1,000 joules, which is pretty decent and pretty healthy at the surface. So we definitely have some low-level ingredients at play as well. In terms of rain, yeah, we certainly have the potential. Fortunately, these storms have been racing very quickly, so the big-time downpours have been limited. However, we have seen flash flooding. I just tweeted out about an hour ago some video out of Decatur, Alabama, that was unbelievable from Morgan Sheriff's Office. That was just this incredible flooding. You can also see it on our MyRadar Twitter page as well. I believe Mike Linden retweeted it for us. But boy, the rain has been unbelievable. In some isolated pockets, still could see that as we head into today. So keep that in mind as well. Here's a look at the water vapor. Notice my little corkscrew, the corkscrew there. That's not helicity, but that's that low pressure center that's in the Midwest at the surface. This is the water vapor that shows the amount of water vapor in the atmosphere. Lots of moisture content, lots of vapor to work with today to fire those storms. So again, seeing that very dry air and training behind it, behind that much colder air. And let me talk to you about this real quick, and then we're almost done. So this is the sector that I want you to look for, this warm sector. Not so much up in here, but it's going to be down in here as we head through today. So I'm going to scrub this so we can take a look at it. Hang on one second, see if this will do it. Yep. So as we head through today, again, looking into the Carolinas, that little area in South Carolina, northern South Carolina, southern North Carolina, as everything pushes, and again, that low set pressure center is going to be closest to the Delmarva, and that's where the energy, the parent, the mothership, if you will, where all of the energy kind of lines up. And so that's why I think those areas in the Carolinas could see that severe weather as we head into today. All right, let me pull the live radar back up quick before we sign off for the day. I think, Damien, did I miss anything that we had in there? I can't pull up my rundown, but I think we got everything we wanted to talk about today. Okay, cool, thanks. So one last look at the live radar, and again, keeping an eye on these areas in the in southern central Georgia, near Macon, down into Bainbridge, Florida Panhandle. Again, some much less organization in the line of storms that we saw compared to yesterday, but still concerned about that weather as we head through the remainder of today. So we will be here watching everything for you, you guys. Damien McFarland and myself will be keeping an eye on the things. Mike Linden getting much well-deserved couple of days off, or not days off, I'm sorry, he's working, but taking a little bit of a break from the coverage. So yeah, I'll be watching this stuff for you today. I'll be in the studio later this afternoon, so we'll be picking up our coverage there. And we'll keep an eye on everything for you. We'll also have some live updates for you with some live graphics where there won't be narration from me, but you'll see the latest graphics and what's going on with the radars and watches and warnings and everything. So look for that today as well. And then we'll have another live update as well this afternoon. So that'll do it for now, you guys. Again, thanks for stopping in. Time now 10:46 local time. I am in Florida, in North Florida currently, and we will have more throughout the afternoon. I want to thank you again for watching. I'll try and answer some questions if I see them in the chats, and we'll see you back here soon. Stay safe, guys.